Welcome to Owlbear Odysseys. I'm Marshall. Here with me, above me, is
I'm JT. Hi, Marshall.
hello. Oh, hello. And to my right is
Hi guys, I'm Shane. I'm not gonna look at Marshall right now.
Marshall and I have committed to a Brady Bunch bit for this intro.
And I have committed to
yes.
not doing that.
Well, today we are doing one of our 3x3 videos similar to our favorite subclasses and magic items. But today we're going over underrated spells that we found interesting, actually good, or anything else like that within the parameters of first through third level spells. In the future, we might do fourth through sixth, then seventh through ninth, but that's a little bit in the future. I'm going to be starting us off, and the first spell that we have right now is Arcanist's Magic Aura. And it is a second level spell. I don't think I chose a first level, but we're going with this second level spell, Arcanist's Magic Aura, not Nistel's Magic Aura, though. They're the
Because
same
Marshall
thing.
does not believe in properly crediting creators.
We do not want to credit Nistel, whoever he is, or she, or whatever. So, the main thing that it does is you can choose two different options of being able to do a false aura or a mask. And the false aura, basically, you're able to change the school of magic that it uh, emits whenever someone uses like detect magic or anything else like that, and you can trick anyone that it is magical or that it's a different school of magic than it actually is. And it has to be an inanimate object, but it can be a creature for the mask. I think it. Oh yes, it can actually still be a creature for the false aura as well. But it lasts for 24 hours, and it only casts one action to actually do it. But after you cast it for 30 days straight, it will stay on there indefinitely. So the main reason why I chose this spell is I think it's just really creative. A DM can use it and trick their players with a bunch of different things, or a player can use it and sell magical items that are not actually magical. Or there's actually just a normal merchant who does this constantly and has a huge magical shop, but it's all just fake goods. Uh, the other thing is the mask. You could enchant a ball with the mask ability and say it's a humanoid, and then you roll it down a corridor to check for traps as it's like moving down to activate any symbol spells that could trigger or anything else like that if you know there's that type of spell.
So, a trend that you're going to notice through these is we've picked a lot of utility spells because y'all know that Fireball is good. So, why would we, waste your time by just telling you how good Fireball is?
It's never a
And
waste to talk about Fireball. But
yeah,
continue.
Fireball is all.
but Magic Aura is, whether you credit it to Arcanist or Nistel, it's a very, I would say, situational spell. It's the kind of spell that it's never necessarily going to like make or break a campaign. But for me, I think I often, whenever I'm playing in a campaign and I'm talking to vendors, I tend to kind of treat it like a video game system where this object has an objective predetermined value, and I forget about the value of haggling or even deception. And so if a party is just passing through town, Marshall already pointed out this ability, and your character has no moral qualms about lying. You could use this to just jack up the price of some things that you want to sell, and then skip town and not deal with the consequences. So it adds another dimension to interactions with salespeople or like tradespeople.
Yeah, so clearly they're pitching the snake oil salesman D&D build. So check that out if you want to. But
It cures what ails you.
yeah, there's that. For me, the part I like about this, just I mean, like JT was saying, it's not going to be helpful all the time. Um, I just really like the idea of using the mask ability to just mess with the party member. It says like the paladin's divine sense, and so to me, I just foresee this situation where the paladin's like, there may be undead around. Let me use my divine sense. And then he's just like, well, there are no undead, but the rogue is celestial for some reason. It's a fun one, and it's, you know, you might pick it in, you know, a bunch of different campaigns and it never come up. What do you do with this spell? But if it does, it can be very fun.
Yeah, I do want to say one other thing before we move on, and hopefully we won't spend this much time on all of these spells. But you know, use these as a player or as a DM. I think DMs could get a lot of use out of these. But this being an inherently deception-based spell, if you're a DM and you are going to hide that something is magical using this aura, that at some point needs to be disclosed to your players that that's how it happened, so that they don't just feel like you've cheated them. Like, a DM shouldn't just be lying. So if there's an in-universe reason why their detect magic didn't pick up on this, you know, you don't have to come out and say, hey guys, I used magic aura. But like, make sure that the players at some point figure that out. Otherwise it's just going to feel cheap.
Throw them a bone that allows them to be able to figure it out themselves, or be able to just guide them to figure it out. Don't railroad them, but give them an idea on how to figure it out. Next up is JT with which spell?
Nope, next is Shane.
Next up is Shane
with
Shane? Rope Trick, but you tried. We appreciate it.
It's Shane.
Yeah, so Rope Trick. It's very fun. It's honestly, it's relatively simple. Yeah, throw up a rope, create a little extra dimensional attic that's hidden, and you can climb up and you can see out. It's like I said, it's simple, but it can be quite handy. You know, I myself used it in a game not too long ago. I was playing a Gloomstalker Ranger, and we were going through the city at night, following clues, and then all of a sudden we heard, you know, a group of the enemy coming up on us, and I said, guys, quick, let's hide. And just threw up this rope trick, and we all popped up there, and we got to watch for a bit and see what they were up to. Before we unceremoniously just dropped on them and, you know, let chaos reign.
Oh, I remember also in another campaign, one that Shane actually ran, we were able to save an NPC with Rope Trick in the middle of a terrifying room full of monsters. One of the NPCs, actually JT's character's parent, was severely injured, and we had to get him to safety, and I forgot who cast Rope Trick, but someone cast Rope Trick to be able to get him out of there, and was able to climb up the rope and just hide into safety while we dispatched all the bad guys. It was a very nice moment to protect him.
Yeah, it was a very good moment, considering that the leader of the bad guys of that fight was there to get his JT's character's dad, and it was just that player just said, I'm gonna hide him away. He's gonna be safe. It was very clutch.
Yeah, and a good DM will often try to trap their party in a combat, and Rope Trick is a great way of just breaking that. And also, granted, the duration says an hour. You know, maybe play around with some meta magic to make this possible. But here's just a little pitch for you: a D&D That 70s Show campaign. And instead of the basement where they do the circle, they have a Rope Trick attic where they go do it. You know, just say that in this world there are some rope tricks that are permanent, and that one's just free.
And a nice little shout out to Rope Trick. Rope Trick is actually in Heartwood Heist. One of our players, Austin, his character Glint, actually has a magical vine that can cast Rope Trick. It hasn't been used yet, but let's see if it does. Join us there if you can. Next up we have is JT's spell.
This is mine, and I picked, I believe, the only first level spell we have on this list. I picked Ceremony. Now, Ceremony, you know, partially just because it's a first level spell, I think it's probably the weakest one on this list, but I couldn't help but bring it up. It is a first level abjuration spell that has 6 different types of ceremonies that you can perform. I believe there's a 7th one that's a UA right now, but the one we're going to talk about, all of them are like neat. Coming of age and funeral rite are interesting, but the one that's worth your time is wedding. Now, I first found out about this trick from a D&D Shorts video called "The Most Insane Full Party Combo in D&D." So please go and check out these smaller creators like D&D Shorts who do great work. But the trick for the wedding ceremony is that it does not specify that it's a wedding between 2 humanoids. So you can, as long as your party's cool with it, you can marry the entire party and give them all +2 AC for the next 7 days. After that, creatures can only benefit from it if they are widowed. So the full party combo that D&D Shorts was talking about is you have a zealot barbarian in the party, and again, assuming no moral qualms, you killed a zealot barbarian. The entire party is now a widow. It doesn't cost any money to bring him back because he's a zealot. So you revive him, and then you all get married again, and you just keep getting, you do this little ritual every week, and you get a permanent +2 AC for the entire party. Is it necessarily like you're going to walk away from this with some blood on your hands? But it works, and I think it's really cool seeing a first level spell that can do this because you break the game a little bit.
You gotta wait until you get Revivify still, though, right? For the Zealot Barbarian?
Yeah, you need another party member that can cast Revivify.
Right.
It's just
Okay.
the Zealot Barbarian specifically, it just doesn't. You don't have to pay the material cost.
Or just go to the
revive
local
them.
healer, see if they, find a NPC in the world that knows it.
It's a casual world where you can kill your friend and then they can come back.
I mean, that is kind of the result of WotC making spells that can revive people, is that you live in a world where death is not permanent.
Yep.
And that's just a fact about any D&D campaign. Death means nothing. Heaven is an illusion. I'm a Christian.
I mean, you are specifically referring to a game setting. So add that little disclaimer on the bottom of the screen. Yeah. We have a tendency, the three of us have a tendency to look at these things in these videos from a DM's eyes, and I just had one of those moments because I was just thinking, how many times could, this is a cleric paladin spell. Obviously, you can take feats or whatever, you can get it another way. But how many times realistically could a cleric keep marrying the same group of people before their god notices? It's like I have a paladin character that serves Bahamut. It's like, how many times can I marry the entire party before Bahamut's just like, didn't you do this last week? What's going on? Do we have a clerical error going on here?
And then just pulls out a scroll, and then there's just like 20 other times where they got married.
Yeah. It's like one of the party members is looking at their schedule. Yep, Tuesday night we got tacos. Wednesday night we got combat practice, and Thursday night we're all getting married again.
Yeah. Well, Wednesday we're watching Kill Bill. Thursday we're killing Bill.
Oh, that's so good. Well, thank you for that greatness of ceremony. Next up is the next spell that I chose, and it's one of the first damaging spells that we actually have, and it's Spirit Shroud. I think of it kind of like Spiritual Weapon, but it's not Spiritual Weapon. You get to, as a bonus action for a whole minute, cast Spirit Shroud, and it adds an extra 1d8 damage between Radiant, Necrotic, and Cold. And anytime you hit someone within 10 feet of you, you do that extra 1d8 damage. The big thing, though, about Spirit Shroud is when you hit them and they have taken that damage, they cannot regain hit points for the rest of that until the start of their next turn. And that just shuts things down. It is so good. Then it also has on top of that, there's movement speed is reduced by 10 feet if they start their turn within 10 feet of you. But that damage also increases each time they cast it above 2 levels above third, similar to spiritual weapon. But it's a very simple spell in like what it does, but it just has so many different things that it can do for just a third level spell. It's so good. It ruins a DM's fight, or it uh, helps the DM's fight by shutting down the players and preventing them from being able to heal, or the players stopping the DM from being able to heal. It's just so good. Have y'all ever used Spirit Shroud?
I don't think I have.
Mm-mm.
It is a good spell. I remember specifically I was playing a warlock character that I had intention to eventually start using this, because I was waiting till we got our next feat so I could get either gunner or crossbow expert so that I could, make range attacks and melee without disadvantage. So that I could just then use this and be Eldritch blasting people in the face. But I don't think I actually got to the point where I got there. The game ended before then. But yeah, like Marshall said, he hit all of the points about what's cool about this spell. And the thing that I think about with it is it is a third level spell that gives you a D8 on damage, which isn't crazy. But the thing you have to consider is that there are 3 aspects to the spell. Like he said, there's the damage, there's the not regaining hit points, and there's the slowing down. So there's more reason to take it than, it's not going to be... If you just want the damage, then you're probably better, if you can access, Hunter's Mark or Hex, or maybe even Divine Favor, which is only D4, but, that's the first level.
Yep.
But this gives you, those 3 things. And also, specifically for if you're playing like a warlock, if you're high enough level that you can use this, then you probably don't want to be casting Hex anyway, because you're just upcasting it at 3rd level for, I think it gets like an extended duration. Maybe at that point it lasts like a full day or something, which isn't... How great is that, right? So you might as well cast this instead, since you're already casting it at 3rd level, and you've got a few extra bonuses. As long as you're hitting things within 10 feet of you.
Yeah,
Yep.
Spirit Shroud it's 3 pretty good level 1 spells rolled into 1 good level 3 spell. And an aspect of it that no one else has commented on yet, it's a bonus action casting time, which is always a benefit for a spell. If you're playing, a Gish build where you're mixing combat, like melee fighting, and spellcasting, bonus action spells are the savior of those builds. So Spirit Shroud, to me, gets extra points just for being a bonus action.
Bonus action spells that do extra damage are already really good, but then also just the craziness of just stopping from someone being able to heal into their next turn. As a bonus action.
There have been so many situations where like the party spends a full round just beating down on the big boss of the combat, and then it gets back around to their turn, and the DM's like, all right, and you see him start healing, and everyone wants to flip the table. And so it's nice when you can just shut that down and, give your DM the bird.
The next spell, Shane, what's your spell?
The next one is Galder's Tower. It's a 3rd level spell. And here's the thing. Alright, I like this spell. I'm going to be the first one to admit you should probably take Tiny Hut instead of Galder's Tower. But hear me out on this. What fun is it to create, whatever Tiny Hut is like the opaque, barrier that nothing can pass through, and you could long rest in that, all right, and sure, you'll be safe or whatever. But instead, as long as you've got this 3rd level spell slot, You could just create your own tower. Imagine that you're on the road, you're tired, you've been in either walking or maybe riding a horse or on a carriage. Um, Boom, your own tower in the middle of the forest. All right, what more do I have to say? Honestly,
I've never heard someone with such a strong opinion on Leomund's tiny hut.
listen, it's a good spell. I would love Tiny Hut and Leomund's Tiny Hut. Guller's Tower is more fun, is my opinion.
I could wholeheartedly agree. I think it's hilarious just to see a tower pop up in the middle of nowhere, and it's really cool to be able to do that for just a year straight. And then, hey, you got a tower forever. And sometimes you just imagining all the 8 rooms when you can just furnish it with all these crazy things, but you just make all 8 rooms just empty, unfurnished, and empty. It'd be so silly.
Yeah, it's interesting
Uh,
they included that option. I was playing a campaign with Shane, and it was a campaign where we switched DMs every session. So it's kind of like connected anthology. And Shane, in the first session, introduced a character named Galder, who I believe within this world was the originator of this spell. And the fun part about a campaign like that is that the characters become like their identity becomes whatever the next DM remembers. And so over time, Galder just got abstracted more and more until it got to my second session DMing, which I think was like session 6 overall. And there was like, someone was like, "What's Galder up to?" And I'm like, he has built 80 towers in the last hour and he's not stopping. And so he just became this insane madman who just built towers everywhere he could for no reason, and we loved him.
it's just a bad game of telephone, but with a character, with an NPC.
And
I love
I
it.
loved it. My thing from the start was that he was a crazy old wizard who could do other things, but he liked making towers. And that was pretty much what he became, so I'm very happy with how he turned out.
He's like the magical equivalent of that TV trope of like the tortured genius who works at a Dairy Queen because he just doesn't want to get a genius job.
Yeah,
Or
We love
arguably
Calder.
he's Megumin from Konosuba, and he's picked his choice of magic and doubled down on just that.
And I
hey, that could
respect
actually
the
be
heck
really
out of it.
strong. But you can go up to 8 floors if you upcast it all the way. And I think about just stacking the towers on top of each other. You go to 16, 24, just keep going. And it doesn't. Does it say you can make it round or square?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it
Okay.
does.
And so yeah, you
Yeah.
just interchange that all the way through, and then you have this weird tower just going from square cube to circular all the way up as high as you can.
It's like a ceremony. Let's see how long it takes you to piss off a god. Make your own
Yeah.
Tower of Babel in D&D.
Tower of Babel Simulator 2024.
Is there a build limit in D&D? Let's find out.
All
Okay,
right.
that's Galder's Tower. Next up, we have
We have
JT.
Phantom Steed. My second spell choice, Phantom Steed. Probably one of the simplest spells on this list, if not the simplest. You get a Phantom Steed. I don't know what else to tell you. You cast the spell, and for the duration of an hour, you get a quasi-real horse-like creature. You get a Phantom Steed. There are the main benefit of this is that the steed goes fast, right? You've got a speed of 100 feet in a round, and your hands are free to engage in whatever else you need to do. I'm trying to pad this out, but like it's Phantom Steed. You get a Phantom Steed. I don't know what else to say.
You after that 1 hour, you're gonna have to cast it again. You go again, and you go again, and you just keep doing that to go as far as you can.
Yeah.
With
Well,
Phantom
and this
Steed.
one, Galder's Tower specifies that if you cast the spell again, you can continue the tower you've already built. This one doesn't
Mhm.
specify that, but as a DM, I would probably let a player do that just for simplicity's sake.
I'm thankful that it is a ritual because just take 10 minutes every time, and then you can go a whole hour, and you keep doing that, and you just keep going. You run as far as you want. It's great, but it's so simple. But
I used
makes me
this
good.
spell as my necromancer granny. Shout out to our favorite characters we played video. Go watch that if you want to. But like I didn't need 100-foot speed or something. It's just I was playing an old woman who didn't want to walk, and so she just created this phantom steed that uh, was of course a just super skeletal, terrifying looking horse because that was the juxtaposition of that character being the sweet old lady with the terrifying abilities. Um, and yeah, she just used it to get around like normal.
Yep.
Yeah, take advantage of flavor. Summon a phantom giraffe or a phantom elephant or a phantom dolphin. Like, sky's the limit.
My favorite one's the phantom giraffe. Just I need that. Uh, the next one up is mine. It's another pretty simple spell, but it can go pretty wide with what it does. It's just a second level spell, Vortex Warp. It's one of the few spells that allows you to teleport someone else other than you, or a big party of people. It's just one action, and it's a 90-foot range, and you can choose an ally, then they can fail, and then you can teleport them 90 feet in any direction, but they have to be able to fit in the space that they are going to be placed. They can't be forced to squeeze. The fun thing is that you can also do that to enemies, and you could just yeet them into a cage. You can teleport people, you can teleport them to the edge of a cliff, and then you could just Spartan kick them off. Good things. Or if you have a good Eldritch Blasty friend, they can do Repelling Blast and just yeet them off the cliff. But the main thing I think about is just throwing people into cages or saving your friend who's about to be crushed or is about to die to the big bad or any fight, and they're just in the middle of it, and you can get them out of there, at least by 90 feet, which is a good distance. But that's the main reason why I like it, and you can upcast it if you need to increase it by 30 feet each time. But I don't
Yeah,
see many people doing that often.
yeah, it's a simple spell, but it is really good. Like I agree with Marshall. I think what makes this spell so good is that versatility that lets you choose to help position an ally better, or just or mess up an enemy by trying to throw them off, and that ability to increase the range at higher levels. That's really good. There aren't very
Yeah.
many teleportation spells, if any, that come to I don't think any come to mind that have that where you can increase the range. That would be Misty Step should have that, honestly.
True.
Yeah, I was going to comment on the range as well because there's a lot of spells, there's no reason not to upcast them, except that you don't have a higher level spell slot to use. Vortex Warp has a lot of flexibility of if you need 120 feet, you can go up that. But if not, like if 90 feet will work, you can choose just to use a second level spell and save yourself. It's nice to have that fluidity in the range.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Something I just thought of. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, an important thing to note, me being the rules lawyer coming in here, is that you're not teleporting a creature 90 feet necessarily. You teleport a creature within 90 feet of you to another spot within 90 feet of you.
The other thing I just thought about was that you could, if there's a big group of people and you're wanting to take them one by one, and you and your party is like above them in a room that they could just choose one person, teleport them into the middle of the party, and you all just jump that one person, and you do that one at a time, and you could keep doing that, and you could just slowly whittle down a small group of people, which is, I think, pretty cool.
Yeah, I think a lot of times in D&D, at least from my experience, combats kind of happen on the DM's schedule. Like the DM decides when to ambush the party or something like that. And if you're a DM, try this out. It's a lot of fun to let the party be the ones who decide that. Let them know, like, hey, there's this group that y'all are going to have to fight, or this thing you're going to have to do, and they get to prepare for it. And Vortex Warp is a great spell for that. Like Marshall was saying, yeet someone into a cage. Well, then the party's got to go out and prepare the cages, and it introduces a new element of preparation into a combat that makes them a lot more dynamic.
Well, that's Vortex Warp. Next up, we have Shane with
a Chardalon Stride, which until we started making this video, I was so certain it was a Chardalons. And then I had to look at it, and it's a Chardalons. I'm sure that's an NPC in Faerun that I don't know about. So I apologize to all of you Chardalon fans, but it's new to me.
A Chardalon sounds like the name of a dinosaur. That's all.
It does. I mean, this spell is from Fizban's Treasury of Dragons, so a Chardalon is probably a dragon.
Yeah.
Without knowing, it's probably a dragon. Especially considering the spell starts with the billowing flames of a dragon blast from your feet. Someone who knows, comment below. Is a Chardalon a dragon? And if not, explain how this spell happened. But anyway,
and comment your favorite dinosaur.
This one is cool for a lot of similar reasons to the reason I liked Spirit Shroud. It's a 3rd level spell. It's a bonus action cast time, and it gives you these. I think 3. I didn't really count. Yeah, it gives you like 3 little bonuses that no one of them would make for a good 3rd level spell, but together they're really good. Your speed increases by 20 feet. Movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. And when you go past something, it takes a little bit of fire damage. Now, the persona I've built on this channel, I couldn't not pick a spell that did damage. So this is the one. But really, it's mostly good for that extra, the combination of extra speed and not provoking opportunity attacks. Anything that lets you not provoke opportunity attacks is going to be very good, especially something like this where you can cast it as a bonus action and then keep it up for a minute. So this is, 1, good at getting you out of sticky situations, and 2, also really good for just running around the map and messing stuff up. Specifically, I kind of think a good combination for this is if you have a character that has Booming Blade, just a Chardalon Stride them, run up, smack them with a Booming Blade, run away, they take a little fire damage, and then you're not next to them anymore. Next turn, they probably have to move to do something to you, and they have to take that Booming Blade damage.
And you can also increase the movement speed as you upcast it too, and it also increases the damage too. Damage is all right, but the damage is, I think, the cherry on top of the 20 feet of movement and the that doesn't provoke opportunity attacks.
Yeah, it's like Shane said, none of these abilities are worth a 3rd level spell slot, but all of them together are. Man, mobility is so underutilized in D&D. One of my favorite 1st level spells, and I know it's basic, but I love the jump spell because it's a super simple ability. Just having that extra ability to move around the map makes the combats a lot more dynamic. And so anything that increases movement speed and stops your opponents from making opportunity attacks, that's going to make the fight a lot more interesting, and it's going to make you in the combat a lot more capable.
The thing I thought you were going to say, you like the jump spell because it just forces the DM to think about the Pythagorean theorem. Good stuff.
That too.
Well, really, it makes the DM go look up jump in D&D, like the jump mechanics, because no one remembers those offhand.
One downfall of this spell is that it is fire damage, which is one of the most resisted types, but it's also a wizard spell. So if you are a scribe's wizard, you don't have to do fire damage.
It's also a sorcerer
But-
spell, so if you have transmuted spell, is that the name of the
I
meta
think so,
magic?
yeah. So this is, by virtue of the classes that can use it, the spell has a lot of potential to be versatile.
But you want to stay with fire damage because it's the closest thing to Fireball. But that's a Chardalon Stride. Next up, we have the last spell, and it's JT's.
Here we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it up front. This is my favorite on the list. I didn't know what this spell did before we were preparing for this video, and it has become one of, if not my favorite, third level spells. So this is slow. Now, to preface, and I know Shane kind of disagrees with the statement I'm about to make, but across the D&D community, I think it is true that haste is well regarded as a pretty great spell. Like, I've heard people say that haste is one of the best spells in the game, full stop. I don't agree with that, but third level spells, haste does a lot. Now imagine if you could take everything good about haste and turn that into a nerf and then put it on 6 of your opponents. Slow is a third level spell that lets you target 6 creatures in a 40-foot cube, force a wisdom saving throw. Every affected creature has their speed halved, has a -2 penalty to AC and Dex saves, loses their reaction entirely. On each of their turns, they can only use an action or a bonus action, and regardless of creatures' abilities or magic items, they cannot make more than 1 melee or ranged attack in a turn. If they want to cast a spell, 1st level through 9th level, that has a casting time of 1 action, they have a 50-50 chance of the spell being completely wasted. That is 6 abilities. That is 6 nerfs packed into a single 3rd level spell that can target 6 creatures. You can ruin a DM's day with this spell. If you're a DM, you can ruin 6 party members' day with this spell. It is insane to me. Now, granted, if they succeed the wisdom save, that's the end of it. There's no, equivalent to half damage on a success. But if I was in the party, I'd be using my silvery barbs on this. I would be, if I were a divination wizard, I'd be using my portents to force a fail on this spell. Slow can end a combat before it starts if you get a lucky roll.
It's a very powerful spell. I also just, one thing you didn't highlight, which you did a good job of highlighting what makes the spell so amazing, is that it is 6 creatures of your choice in that cube. So it's not Fireball where you have to either cast it before everything gets mixed in with your guys or be an evocation wizard. It's one of those things where you can be in the middle of combat with, all of the party members and the bad guys kind of locked in combat all in the same space, and you can just target the whole cube and just, leave your guys alone, which is very powerful and not something that, not all the spells do. So that's very good. I was in a game, had this used against us. The DM did it to us, and we got mostly lucky with saving throws. I think I failed the first one, and then I passed at the end. So I had a round of this, and a round was enough. I hated it. It was terrible. So which shows it's a very good spell.
And also, you can be 120 feet away from that cube. So, with all of their movement speed being halved, you can just be sniping them from afar, and they're trying to get to you and wasting their turns. Or they could try to do some ranged attacks. But the spells, it's just the crazy thing that if they get an 11 or higher, that they have to wait till their next turn before it actually goes off.
And if they can't use it at that time, it's wasted.
That's nuts. And then it's 6 people. It's so good. Probability-wise, you're going to at least get 1 person. Most likely. Like, a higher chance.
If you were a bad DM, or, maybe it's just a really difficult campaign. Like, read your party. You could build a whole combat around a slow gimmick where you have like one main guy who casts slow on the party, and then he has like 4 low level lackeys that are just casting silvery barbs on them. Like, this could be an entire combat in itself. That your players are gonna hate you afterwards, but you could do it.
Who knows? I might take that. Let's see what happens in Heartwood Heist.
Check out Heartwood Heist every first, third, and fifth Saturday at 7 p.m. Central Time.
Well, thank you all for watching. That's all of our spells, and that was one of our shout-outs to Heartwood Heist. Please go watch us. You can find us on Twitch or on YouTube the day after. And that is our 3x3 for first through third level spells that we consider underrated, but we find interesting or still really good. I want to check, JT and Shane, do y'all have any other final remarks before we say goodbye and sign off?
Yeah, I just want to add, anyone, if you're still here watching at the end of the video, thank you. We appreciate your view. Drop us a comment down below. Tell us who picked the best spells. Make it a competition. Ruin our personal feelings by picking other people.
Yeah.
Or
and
choose your most underrated spell.
Yeah, and if you liked this video, Marshall mentioned it at the beginning, but we have others just like it. I would check out our magic item video. I think it's one of our best. But also, if you've enjoyed this, feel free to subscribe. You have no idea how much it makes our day every time we get a new subscriber. I message our group chat literally every time. And it just brightens our day.
That it does. Well, thank you all for watching, and thank you for staying till the final last little bit. And we wish you all a great rest of your day, night, week, and whatever else you want it to be good. Well, goodbye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Feliz Navidad.